Hey guys, it's me again. I just wanted to do a quick little video before it got too late and I was making too much noise. Um, about something that I sort of touched on in my first video, but sort of wanted to sort of expand on a little bit here. Um, the idea of free will when it comes to things like I was addressing, like thought crime, like things like thinking about committing a sin, and how again, I was always taught, being raised Catholic, that the simple act of thinking about it was, in actuality, whatever the sin was. And that I had to go and confess those thoughts. And that those thoughts were basically just as bad as if I had committed them. Now, I was watching another video that was talking about a lot about, free will. You can catch it. It's on Transitional Apes site. He's in my on my page in my favorites. Um, and I was sort of thinking about how free will sort of was associated with things like thought crime and thinking about the sin being essentially committing the sin. Now, if if we have free will, um, the fact that we could think about something and not do it, I think, is one of the that is what our free will is. We can think about something and say, yes, I am going to do that, or no, I'm not. Um, Really, what I wanted to kind of bring up for you guys was, have you ever, has anybody ever said, because I know it's happened to me, said something to you that you couldn't really block the image or the thought out of your head? I it had, really, like something really terrible, like your parents committing some horrible sex act, or I don't know, ridiculous things being done, or some really graphic image that somebody says it to you either as a joke, or somebody's describing something and you can't get it out of your head. There are certain things in our brain that sort of do these knee jerk reactions to things in that way, and when it comes to things that are sins, it's the same thing. We're essentially being blamed for, you know, and I want to establish now, I think it was pretty clear in the last one, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. I do play devil's advocate in a lot of these examples that I'm playing when I'm talking about things that religion specifically. I'm gonna go with the case of the Bible because again I was raised Catholic and that's sort of the one that I know the best. And just so you understand that I'm not literally saying that God is judging me when I think a bad thought or anything. But somebody cuts you off in traffic. Your knee jerk reaction to that in your mind might be, I want to fucking kill that person. But you obviously don't do it. But again, what I was taught in catechism was that that essentially is killing that person, and that I have to go and confess, and that's just how it is, and that if I and again, even if you don't want to take such an extreme version of it, the whole adultery thing and coveting thy neighbor's wife thing, that I really, again, is another example of the act is a sin, but also thinking about the act being a sin. And I put some annotation on that other video, but yeah, I looked it up, and the original Old Testament version of the Ten Commandments doesn't quite make the distinction between women being property, or you know an actual person being the neighbor, part of the whole of the neighbor's goods. Um, and that was the interesting thing, that the different ways of sort of splitting up the first few commandments and the last few commandments, and that's why I was having a little bit of an issue remembering, because I think the way that I was taught them, the first two were combined, but then the last two were separate or something like that. But anyway, getting sidetracked on what the hell I'm actually talking about, which is the fact that, you know, no matter how somebody wants to claim, or how much somebody wants to claim of their piety, we know how the human brain works. We've all experienced these things. And you know that there's people out there who are having very naughty, lustful thoughts. And probably not telling anybody about them. And I know that in different versions of Christianity, you don't necessarily have to confess and everything. But just the idea, but God knows. He knows. So, what the hell's the difference? And that, essentially, uh, you're committing those sins, and you have to atone for them in some way. And it's just like, that it doesn't really, um, it doesn't seem to be something that, as a human being, you could possibly, uh, you know, what the hell is the word that I'm looking for? If I can't remember, I'll put it in an annotation. Those annotations are going to be really, really good to me, I think, because sometimes I have brain not good days. Reconcile. How some people reconcile just the natural way our brains work with, the different things that are considered sins. I'm not even getting into the extreme cases of our sexuality, or our, any of the human nature stuff that is flat out denied as, the serious human nature stuff that's just flat out denied and considered sin. Remember, like, the really, like, basic, like, it's really difficult not to think bad thoughts. It just isn't. We get angry and we react. And luckily, 95% of the reaction is up here. And then we can choose, however, we want to take the next step or don't. And that, I think, is what free will would be considered. It's that not taking the next step or taking the next step. That's when the choice, if you don't have that first reaction of knowing the two ways that you can go, then what is the free will? If all of your thoughts are good, then, and they're just that way, then where exactly is the decision that you're making? What is happening that's causing, the two roads to be laid out in front of you? Just, it doesn't, it's another one of those little things that just doesn't seem to quite make sense, no matter how you look at it. So there you go. My little thought before it sort of escaped me and I wasn't able to get it in video. So there you go. All right, good night.